A very good afternoon to everyone. Prelims is now knocking right at your doors. It is less than 4 months away. So, what should be our preparation strategy? Are we going to go with the same strategy that we were following in our foundational courses when we were preparing a few months back? The answer shall be no, because then it will not be the most optimum strategy to maximize your marks in the prelims. Now, we have come with a very succinct strategy that can help you know streamline your preparation so as to maximize the output, make your study most efficient and productive. Always remember, time is of essence, and if you can save time to prepare more holistically, more comprehensively, then you are set out to do great in the exams. Now, if you go through the previous year's questions, you will find out that now international relations is, for example, covering a lot of questions. But are you going to go with the blinkers in your head just after the international relations? Or are you going to go for a granular analysis? See, you do not have to prepare each and everything that is coming in the world affairs or the international relations. But if you have an analytical bent, if you are provided with the right strategy, you can exactly study what is being asked. The key here is to identify the patterns. We here have identified a few patterns which can help you streamline your preparation. For example, even within international relations, generally the questions that are covered are from 4 to 5 focus areas. So, for example, you have one of them being conflict zones. Conflict zones, the countries which are engaged in wars, countries which are engaged in civil wars, which are having military coups, ethnic conflicts, and so on. Second focus areas would be infrastructure and connectivity projects. So you had a question a few years back on India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. Then questions such as based on India, Middle East, European economic corridor. So these are certain and etc. questions on infrastructure and connectivity projects. Third would be what? Third is international organizations, questions based on WTO, IMF, World Bank, so on. And the fourth one would be regional and multilateral groupings such as ASEAN, G20, BRICS. So when you go with this strategy and then start looking for it, you are actually preparing very smartly for the exam. But do not stop here. I will explain to you how you can make it even more, even more solid, more consolidated studies. So, for example, let's take conflict zones, for example. Now, conflict zones, there are a number of conflicts going on all around the world, be it Israel-Hamas, be it Russia-Ukraine, civil wars in Myanmar, Syria. Just a month back, there was a regime change in Syria after a decade of civil war. Then there are conflicts in Yemen, Sudan, Burkina Faso, Niger. How are you going to actually manage all of that? Are you going to go read 5, 6, articles on that? 10 to 12 pages, is it worth it to read so much at this point of time when your total focus and your goal should be to clear the prelims exam? The answer should be no. Anyone with clear strategy will never go for this strategy. This could be a recipe for disaster. So what you have to do is, and here we are here to make your life easier. You just look at this matrix. We have prepared a matrix for you of how to go about the preparation. On the column side, there are a number of conflicts. Myanmar, Syria, Israel, Hamas, or Israel, Gaza, Sudan, Yemen. You can include more, Burkina Faso and Niger. And on the row side, we have certain key aspects on which the questions are being framed repeatedly. Mark my words, repeatedly. UPSC is following this matrix only. Questions are not coming out of this, beyond this. Only majorly from these aspects. I will explain how. So, first let's get a little hang of what these aspects are. First is, UPSC is asking questions based on reason for being in the news. Example. Second one, areas of conflict. Third is key terms that are often heard in the news related to that conflict zone. Fourth one, what are the important groups that are involved? You have to know the important groups that are involved in that conflict. And the fourth one is generally the communities mentioned in the news. For example, if it's an ethnic conflict, let's say in Myanmar, then what are the major communities? So, for example, there was a question based on Kachin, and it was a match the following question. Kachin is one of the ethnic groups, also one of the regions, and then, there was another option, and that the question was match the following. Are the matches right or not? Only one correct, two correct, three correct. So if you do not know exactly, you cannot answer the questions. So what we are going to do is I'm going to explain to you how. Now look at these. For example, Sudan, war between. Asked question on war between the countries, worst economic crisis, Sudan, right? Second here, instability and worsening security situation, and military takeovers, coups. Region was Sahel region. You know Sahel region? It's a region, it's a transition zone in Africa between Sahara and the Sudanian savannah. So countries, like Niger, Burkina Faso, these are the countries in Sahel region. See another one. Again, regions often mentioned in news and reasons for being in news. War between Armenia and, for example, this was the right answer. Then dispute between Israel and Lebanon. So, you see, again, this was from Russia-Ukraine war. This was Russia-Ukraine war. Question asked in 2023. Nagorno-Karabakh was from war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And North Kivu and Ituri was from? Let me help you a little bit. Right. It was Democratic Republic of Congo. What was the reason again? North Kivu and Ituri. Because DRC is undergoing a civil war. Reasons being ethnic conflicts, resource exploitation. Again, conflict zone. So, again, come here. Country where it is located and areas of conflict mentioned in news. So, Donbas would be Ukraine. Kachin would be here. That is what we were talking about. It is Myanmar. Tigray is Ethiopia. Right, again, come here. Land border with Ukraine. Why Ukraine being asked? It's so much in news. Why? Because it's a conflict zone now. Here, foreign countries suffering from decades of civil strife. Again, civil strife. Somalia. Again, see countries. Which of the common? All of them. In recent years, Chad, Guinea, Mali and Sudan caught the international attention. Reasons being successful coups. So you see the questions are repeatedly being asked from conflict zones, military coups, civil wars, ethnic conflicts, right? Again, here you see Afghanistan, Taliban 2.0 came, right? And that became the hot topic of that year. So question directly from that. Above borders. Now, Levant region. What is the Levant region? Region along the eastern Mediterranean shore. So countries like Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Syria. These are the countries which are located at the eastern Mediterranean shores and called Levant region. Again, that region, because of ISIS, Islamic State, was a conflict zone. So you see so many questions have been asked on the conflict zone, but every year 3 to 4 to 5 questions. Into 2023 5 questions, 2024 2 to 3 questions. Even in 2022 there were 3 to 4 questions. You cannot afford to miss this. So how are you going to study? So now you see there were questions, reason for being in the news, areas of conflict, which were the bordering countries. Did we not see in case of Afghanistan and Ukraine, which were the bordering countries? Next time it could be anyone. Any country, Myanmar, Syria, Israel, Sudan, Yemen. That is how you have to prepare. Key terms often heard in the news, that will give you an edge. For example, Arab terms like Tatmadaw can be asked. What is Tatmadaw is related to which? Now you must know that Tatmadaw is Myanmar's military. Myanmar's military is called Tatmadaw. Important groups involved, right? And communities mentioned in the news. If we do this matrix, just look, go for the conflict zone, look at for these aspects and just fill your matrix. So how it will help you? The last minute revision will become so easy. You will not have to do much. Just have a glimpse at it and then work is done. You have secured 4 to 6 marks. And mind you, margin of error is very small in this exam, right? Each mark, even 0.1 mark matters. So even 0.33 matters. You cannot afford to lose. 0.67, you cannot afford to lose. Even a single mark, that is the idea. That is why make it very, very, smart study. Now, let me show how to go about it. So we have conflict zones here. For example, here we have taken 2 examples, Myanmar and Syria. And now we are going to fill the matrix with these. So, what was the reason? It could be asked, Myanmar is in news for what? It was a question, right? It was called successful military coup. So, here it was for military coup and civil war, right? Similarly, Syria, just about a month ago, Bashar al-Assad, the then president, fled away from Syria. Syria was under, a civil war for a decade, almost a decade since 2011. Now, so he fled away and civil war. That is why it has been in news, right? Areas of conflict, Kachin. Do you remember? The direct question, Kachin, Tigray, and Donbas was given in 2023. So, just a few names, Kachin, Chin, Shan, Rakhine, Kaya, Kain, Mon. You do not have to go about each and every district or city of that region. No, the major groups, the major regions that can be asked. Similarly, if you go for Syria, you must have read the current affairs. You know how these are the major cities which were occupied at first, right? These were the major cities, Aleppo, Idlib, Homs, Hama. Even if you remember 3 to 4 of them, see, it's an extensive list of 5 to 6. Naypyidaw, for example, is the capital of Myanmar. Damascus is the capital of Syria. But you have to remember, just go through them once. Once these names go through your eyes, it will be very easy for you to match the following things. When the match the following question comes in your exam. Similarly, bordering countries. Now let's see. See, this is what we were talking about. These are the major, Kachin, Shan, Chin, Rakhine. Rakhine, when the Rohingya issue came up, Rohingyas were located in Rakhine and then they fled as refugees because of the operations over them. So, Rakhine region, for example, right? Now, the bordering countries, be very clear about the bordering countries. Which are the bordering countries? India, China, Laos, Thailand, and Bangladesh. That is it. Fine. Even in India, go a little deeper. India, which are the states that are sharing border with Myanmar? There are 4 states. Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, right? Manipur and Mizoram. So, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram are the states that are sharing land border with Myanmar. And Myanmar opens up to Bay of Bengal, right? Similarly, if you go for Syria, these are the, so which are the neighboring countries? Turkey, Iraq, Jordan, Israel and Lebanon. 5 countries. You must be very thorough. It has been asked now and again. When in 2022 Afghanistan was in crisis, direct question came out. Which are the neighboring countries of Afghanistan? Then after Russia-Ukraine war, direct question on the neighboring countries of Ukraine. So be very clear, remember them, memorize them, look at the maps. It shall be printed in your mind, right? And then it opens up to Mediterranean Sea. This is Mediterranean Sea, right? It opens up to Mediterranean Sea in the west. Okay, right. So we did this: India, Bangladesh, Thailand, Laos, China, and Turkey, Iraq, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon. And make a note: Syria opens up to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. Key terms often heard in the news. When you will read through the newspapers, you might go across several terms. For example, State Administration Council. The current military rule in Myanmar is ruling under this name, State Administration Council. You just have to know this much. What is National Unity Government? National Unity Government is the government formed in exile, right? So in Myanmar in 2021, a military coup happened. So the elected representatives had to run away because military was oppressing them. So those elected representatives who ran away, they formed a government in exile and named it National Unity Government. And the military formed government named itself State Administration Council. Simple. In Syria, you could be aware of Astana peace process, which is a peace process conducted by Iran, Russia, and Turkey. Right. And then there Levant. Did we not study about Levant? There was a direct question on Levant, right? And then Kurdistan, for example. Kurds are one of the major ethnic groups in Syria, and they are demanding Kurdistan. So just have to be aware of that. Important groups involved: Tatmadaw. We discussed right at the beginning, Tatmadaw. Myanmar's military is called Tatmadaw. Okay. Then Three Brotherhood Alliance. Now, Myanmar is facing a civil war. There are a number of groups that are fighting the military. There is one alliance of three ethnic armed organizations, which is called Three Brotherhood Alliance. Which are these three ethnic armed organizations? These are Arakan Army, Tang National Liberation Army, and Myanmar Democratic National Alliance Army. Do remember Arakan Army. Arakan Army is making severe dent to the military's regime. It is occupying more and more areas. So, and then People's Defense Forces. What are People's Defense Forces? We just talked about National Unity Government, right? The government formed by the exiled representatives. They have also formed a pro-democracy anti-military militia force. They have named that militia force People's Defense Forces. So you just have to remember People's Defense Forces belong to Myanmar. Then communities mentioned in the news. But before that, let us do here. Al-Nusra. Al-Nusra is it's an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. You must remember the names. Syrian Democratic Forces, Free Syrian Army, Hezbollah, and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham could be asked in the question. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham is the group which formed out of Al-Nusra and which has now formed the interim government in Syria after Bashar al-Assad fled to Russia. So these groups, you must only remember the names. You do not have to go into depth or into the details of these groups. And then the last one, communities mentioned in the news. So these Rohingya, Bamar, Karen, Arakani, Shan, Kachin, Mon, and Chen. These are the 5-6 names you can be aware, you should get aware of, right? And here, Alawite, Kurds, Yazidis, Arabs, and Assyrians. So the former ruler of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, was an Alawite sect, which is a part of Shia Islam, right? So Alawite Kurds. Kurds are another ethnic group people, ethno-religious group people, which are demanding their own nation in the form of Kurdistan, right? So here the idea is that you just make a matrix, do not go much into the depth or detail of what these are, okay? What is the history, what is the background, why someone is doing what they are doing? No, not at all. The idea is that you make a matrix and now and then just go through them once in a while, so that it is somewhere subconsciously it is there in your mind. So whenever a question comes, it won't be a surprise to you, right? You can easily tackle that question. Similarly, when you go studying, you have done this Myanmar for Syria, you can do for Israel, Sudan, Yemen, Russia, Ukraine. Again, you can do, right? You can do for DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. You can do for Burkina Faso. What will happen is that you will be covering a lot of current affairs in the realm of international relations without spending much time. And that is the idea right now. Strategize your preparation in a way that gives you maximum yield. How can you get the maximum yield? By maximizing output in comparison to the input that you are putting in. तो मिनिमम टाइम में ज्यादा से ज्यादा कवर करना है आपको और रेलेवेंट मटेरियल्स कवर करने हैं. So this is the kind of strategy that you should have, and this is what we offer you. So rest of the thing, if you want to go into the details of that, of course we can. That for that you can come to our lecture on international relations, where we will be dealing with these aspects in a more comprehensive manner, but limiting ourselves to the relevance of the exam. Thank you. That is it for today.